what he
I don't know
wanted
what
since
happened
day
to
one.
that child. I mean, that's really disturbing. That I didn't even see pornography until I was 14 years old on accident, and I'm very thankful. But one thing we do have to acknowledge is there's a number of people, and I think you had said, like that's what they have to. No, you said that's what they have to offer. Like we all have different things to offer. There's some women I've met. There's one Moroccan chick I'm thinking of in particular right now. You heard me. Was not good at anything. Her conversation was atrocious. But boy, she could please you something vicious. She could please you just something vicious. And she was sweet and pleasant to be around, had no personality, no intelligence, no skill set. And so there are some people that just seem like they're better off doing certain things. I want to acknowledge that. But what we cannot do is have the masses of females thinking that the best route for them is OF.
It takes a bad bitch to be an OnlyFans model. It takes a certain caliber of a woman.
Let me play devil's advocate here really quickly.
You should never advocate for the devil when you're talking to the saints. But go on.
But I am.
Go on. You got the red glasses on.
No, but we just we had what was her name?
Ava James?
Ava James, that's right. She was in here. She studied up to become a special ed teacher, right? She was teaching autistic children.
Wow.
Very much a needed profession in our society, especially right now.
Man.
But let's just say, well, you do, you can at least recognize how much investment in education you would have to have in something like that, the money that would be involved in you taking out student loans to be able to do, you got to go to college, you've got to go through all this your training, you got to be certified to teach, you got to have all the special stuff. So you're investing maybe 4, 6, maybe even 8 years of your life into that. Now you get into that.
Well, I don't know the context. There's many ways you can find yourself in a classroom, even a special ed classroom, and with insignificant levels of education and investment. But go on.
The details. Okay. But the thing is, we've also interviewed women who are surgical nurses, women who get into like very high end professions. Hell, you could even talk to some attorneys, right? Who got into following the profession that I dreamed of becoming when I was a young girl. And now I want to be an attorney, I want to be a surgeon, I want to be whatever it is, right? Yes. And then they realize that those start them at maybe $86,000 a year. They start doing OnlyFans, and they're making that in a month.
A very small percentage of them, the data bears this out very clearly. That's number one. And then number two, they realize that there's work involved. You see, even I wanted to be an attorney. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was at Johns Hopkins University in a cafe. I was walking by. There's a little white woman with curly hair, had a bunch of papers on her desk. I said, what do you have all these goddamn papers for? You're killing all the trees. And she says, oh, I'm a law professor. I said, oh, I just got into top law schools. She says, where'd you get into? And I told her, she's like, oh, sit down, young man. I sit down, and she says, do not become a lawyer. Become a lawyer. I said, why? She says, because the profession is contracting. People aren't becoming partner because people aren't retiring. The incomes are not, they're really capped off. She was like, so a smart guy like you, there's many other things you should do. Now, I say that to say this. And she was like, oh, and look at all these papers. She was like, very true. You don't get to be Matlock. You don't get to be like, here's the OJ glove. Yeah. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. She was like, that's TV stuff. That's a small percentage of the work. And it's a lot of work. I met another guy who said the same thing. So what happens is these women, they go through schooling. And I don't think it's necessary that most males or females engage in tertiary education. But they go through the schooling, and women are good at schooling. Why? Because you follow fucking directions. Schooling is organized around the female modality.
100%.
Right. So then they get into the workforce, and then they have to realize that you're not special. They have to take directions, and then they have to work. And more importantly, they have to experience stress. School is a low-stress environment. I'm going to give you a test based on everything we talked about. It's predictable. Women don't like stress. They don't handle it very well, and they do not like working. The feminist lie has misguided them, so they realize this is work, whereas I could just rub my vagina and get paid. I think I'll do that.
That's work.
I think I'll do that.
It requires a lot of work.
You want to generalize women who are in sex work, and you think that all of them had a choice, right?
Oh, you were
That's
forced?
What you're saying?
You were trafficked?
Yeah. I was actually a victim of exploitation, and I took it upon myself. No, actually, I had a boyfriend who was trying to put revenge porn on the internet.
Okay.
And
which is illegal, right?
Which is illegal, and at the time, I didn't have the knowledge that that was illegal. Okay. And so I made the choice that I beat him to the chase, and I joined porn.
That was crazy.
And I did it. And I got him off my back. He was stalking me. And
reverse Uno card.
And also, I found, because actually before that, I was a legal secretary. I went to school for audio engineer and music production. And so I was a brain. And so when I got into the industry, I learned that there was camming. There's other ways to make money. Sure. You're using your body, but it is also a job. It is a skill.
Yeah, there's
and a lot of women Now they have the choice. Back in the day,
how old are you?
I'm 34. I already told you.
You said back in the day like you were in slavery or something.
Talking about women in past generations.
I am saying in the past, before OnlyFans was a thing.
I want to concede that you
had to
did
be
scare
signed
the
to
crap
an
out of
agency.
me. You scared the crap out of me when you said he was going to put out porn on me, so I put it out first myself. Like,
yeah, I did.
I
did because you know what? I'm not going to stand down from a man.
I hear you, but I just want to
that.
let you know that does not make sense and that's not rational. That's why fathers are important. No, really, that's why fathers are critically important. Because if you came to me as a father and you said, hey, Dad, I did something perhaps irresponsible or questionable. I made a pornography with the guy I'm dating. I would have said, hey, I understand
you want to know
that.
what? You want to know? You want to go into father? So as this happened, my father was a drug addict.
Okay.
And as I did that, I told my parents, and I actually took care of my parents. Okay, so having a father figure.
You took care of your
my
parents with
father
your
went to
income
jail.
from
Lucky, you know,
and
not everyone has a dad.
Actually, in return,
we have to let her talk.
One at a time.
I want to add something.
As you say, sex work is bad and it's shameful and all that.
I didn't say it's shameful.
You're shaming women.
You're implying it.
No, I'm not shaming women. I'm shaming those who do not want to acknowledge what it is. I earlier said that there's some women that are going to do that, and that's fine.
Let me finish.
You actually interrupted me. You don't realize you're talking right now because you interrupted me and I stopped talking. In case you didn't pay attention to that.
Somebody needs to respond to what you're talking about. And the thing is that there is a financial benefit to take care of things if you use it in the right way.
You can say the same thing about a husband.
Workers.
You can say the same thing about getting a good husband.
If I wanted to, if we had a choice and we wanted to be bowed down to have a husband.
We don't want to bow down to
nobody. That's a problem. Hold on one second.
Husband.
This is not Pakistan. That's the problem. Is you keep saying if we had a choice. You did have a choice. In fact,
I had a choice and I didn't want to do that.
You see, when I look at you phenotypically, you look white to me. People have confused you for being white, correct?
She's Italian and Filipino.
No, hold on one second. People have confused you.
Filipino and Italian.
I heard you say that earlier.
What does race have to do with this?
It doesn't have anything to do with it. I'm going to let you know. You're talking like you're so oppressed. You're the most empowered person in the society, the white woman, okay? Even more than the white man. Because white women can say white men have white male privilege, cisgender white male privilege. You're the most privileged person in the society. Talking about you didn't have a choice. If you didn't have a choice, how did anyone else have a choice? You're over-enrolled in college. You had every choice and opportunity. You're blaming others. You're not taking accountability. There's nothing wrong with saying, I chose sex work because it was the easiest, quickest dollar to get out of the situation I was in. That's what you did. You chose sex work. You said you put out the porn.
I didn't choose it because it was the easiest job. I did many careers before I did sex work.
Well, why do you seem so embarrassed about sex work then? If it was
Am I embarrassed?
Then why are you so defensive?
Embarrassed? I'm very much not embarrassed. And when I met you, I told you what I was about.
Right, so it's not a problem, right? That you did sex work.
It's not a problem. I'm letting you know that you're trying to generalize women who are in
What am I trying to generalize and say?
You're saying, they're choosing to do this, and they have other choosing.
I think what it was, you more so referred to like sex work. It doesn't require work.
1 second.
That's what I think we were getting at.
It's the easiest job on earth.
I don't believe it's easy. It's very mentally and physically taxing.
Let me respond. Since you all agree with each other,
maybe it's easy for you to go to college and do all the shit you're doing.
What? It's easy to get into Berkeley and Johns Hopkins.
Please stop. You just have to memorize things. You just have to have.
Please stop.
You have to regurgitate.
You have to have a good memory to get into Berkeley and Johns Hopkins.
That's all you have to do.
That's
I don't think that is
extraordinary.
Well, she did say she's low IQ earlier.
I want to add something.
I don't even like college.
I don't believe in college.
I think college. I don't believe in it either. But to suggest that memory is the litmus test,
I think both careers have their own skill sets.
I just want to add something real quick.
I'm going to be defensive about my career.
I just want to add something real quick. I think a lot of you girls don't think about. As a man, our first love is our mothers. It's like a sign of purity to us. We absolutely love and adore and look up to our mothers. I couldn't imagine being like in middle school and elementary school and kids sending you pictures of your moms getting railed. It's the absolute devastation that would do to us. I'm just saying, if you ever have kids later on, that'd be absolutely the most devastating thing.
That's why I've never done porn personally because I want to have children one day.
Does that, she will teach you how to defend yourself.
I don't think it's defendable though. I think, what do you guys think? If you're having
nothing wrong with it.
people, kids were sending your mother getting like, would you guys be able to come back to that? I would kill myself, you know.
Of you.
There's a lot of people that do sex work.
I want to let her.
Because they look at you and look at you with so much love and purity, that's why it would hurt them so bad.
Because they're trying to say sex work was easy, and they don't like that you said that it was easy, or say they're saying it's not easy, and they don't like.
Let me blow your minds real quick.
I think all the guys, would you agree? Like if someone was saying to you, your mom getting fucked,
that would be very, very difficult.
That's trauma.
Right? I don't know if you guys are close to your mother.
So let me just drop before you go. Let me just drop one real quick thing. Here's the thing: is I understand what you're saying. Okay. But the fucking genie's out of the bottle right now, and these kids that are going to be the next generation past the Zoomers,
maybe more normal.
It's going to be normalized.
Yes.
Your mom's
these
an
kids are like fucking at like 8 years old. It's crazy. These kids are wild nowadays. With the TikTok and everything they have, they're wild.
Have you seen this? It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. It's a reel or something. It's like these kids who are walking down the street, and these two kids are like looking at this one girl who's like taking who has a camera, right? And one of the kids, the little fat kid, says, "Hey, my dad watches you on OnlyFans. He subscribes to you on OnlyFans. He jerks off to you all the time." And
how
she's
about
like,
the dad?
"Really?"
Let's shame the dad.
Yeah, well, exactly. But the thing is like that's normal for those kids walking around.
No, in today's society, it's weird. No, these kids are exposed to like it's way too much.
Yeah.
These kids are on another level.
I want you to finish. You didn't get to finish your point because they were saying that it's not easy, and you're saying it is. Oh, go ahead.
Walk with me real quick in a journey of logic, if you don't mind. So, she said your degrees are valueless, and that's fine. Let's say that they are valueless. I'm willing to go there.
No,
let's just say you're on the right path and it's valueless.
But you're not making money off of your college degrees. You're here speaking.
Do you know how I've built my?
I have no idea who you are.
Okay,
incredible.
Right. So, but you just told me.
Let's not tit for tat. Just like let's keep going.
Yeah.
Like the tit for tat is like it's pointless from everyone.
Here we go. Walk with me here on this journey. So say you're 14 years old, right? You're the version of you, but you're 14. If I'd like to make money, even if I was in the informal economy, making quick, easy money, selling crack, and crack sells quite well. It's an addiction business, right? So it's quite easy. Does take some level of brains, but you know what you have to sell crack? No one answered. Do you know what you have to sell
low
crack?
Empathy?
Didn't I just signal that she's... Who?
I thought you were talking to everyone.
Why did you...
Nigga, no, she's not. No, he's not.
Okay, all right, here we go. I'm talking to the woman directly in front of me with
You need to have
reddish
initiative.
hair. Well, more important than that, you have to have crack.
That's what I was going to say, dude. I was going to say you have to have crack. I was going to say it, and I was afraid to say it, but that's why I was like, you do need crack to sell crack. That is correct.
You need crack to sell crack. Okay? You look perplexed. If you want to do a service for someone, like say that you're a masseuse, you might even go to school. You might go to masseuse college. I know college is irrelevant and useless, but you might go to masseuse college to learn a skill, to perform a skill. And a lot of these things take time to accumulate a skill or to get connected with someone who can give you product, or you need initial capital to buy the product, to sell the product. There's a lot of things stacked on top of it. But here's how we know your skill and your offering as an OnlyFans person or as a porn actress is so minimal. This is how we know. If you were 13, you could do that job. If you were 14, you could do that job. Don't interrupt. Don't interrupt, love.
Absolutely not.
Why do you feel the need to interrupt? Maybe the truth might get out. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to yield the floor to you.
Yeah, let's let him finish his point, and then you can try to refute it. Go ahead.
Because as a prostitute, if you wanted to get paid $100 or $200, $300 for a guy to lay down with you, if you were 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and all the way through to maybe about 40, you could get that guy to lay down with you and pay you, and you don't have to have any skills or knowledge whatsoever. You could literally just lay there because guys are that disgusting, and they will pay you, and you can get that lined up every day and make $1 million doing just that, and you can be barely awake. Now, here's the difference. Compare that to all the other scenarios where you have to have initial capital, or you have to have skills, or you have to have the product. So how in the world can you compare what you do with something you're born with to where other people have to go out in this world and take out the time to get that education, go get the capital to get that product to sell, or go build the skills to offer the service, and you just have your body. You just have your body. You're taking something that was given to you for nothing. You can compare that to any of those other things?
It's not just about your body. It's about psychology.
Well, how about this? Remove your body. Can you still make the money with no body?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Well, OnlyFans.
If I was a stripper and I'm in sales,
you can be a sex worker with no body.
I can sell anything.
So if you were Stephen Hawking,
sure,
you could be a sex worker while being Stephen Hawking. Wait, do you know who Stephen Hawking is?
I know who Stephen Hawking is.
He's
the wheelchair guy.
Who was on the island.
Paid midgets.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So if you were... I thought she was storming out. Like another one.
She's about to go in baseball.
But if you were Stephen Hawking, you can make money in sex work? That's what you're telling me?
I'm not saying that I can make money in sex work. I can say that I can use the skills that I obtained in sex work to continue to do that.
So let's say you have skills in sex work. Are those skills comparable to any other field, or are they probably less?
Absolutely.
May I interject really quickly? Are you referring to prostitution or an OnlyFans, a successful OnlyFans model? Because building a brand, building a brand off your OnlyFans does require marketing skills.
My sex skill can build something else, right? A business, e-commerce. So if I'm selling digital products,
e-commerce is e-commerce. Sex work is sex work.
So I'm saying if I sell tits and ass and digital products, I can turn those digital products onto merch, and I can make an e-commerce store, and I could do a business, and I could do the same skill set that I did in selling tits and ass and all this other stuff, where I don't have to do that.
Right. So why does the average OnlyFans woman make $150 a month?
I'm not the average OnlyFans person.
Right. So you're talking
I'm not
about
everybody.
Right.
In
And so
OnlyFans.
that's why what you're saying is irrelevant, and what I'm saying is completely relevant, because you're speaking of like the very small percentage. I'm speaking of what is typical. What will happen to most females if they try to go into that industry? Not only do they make just $150, but then they ruin their reputation and they remove their future earning potential and they embarrass their whole family.
That is your perspective.
That is not a perspective.
That is your perspective. Sure, it could be data. But a lot of women who are in this, they're fucking in it. So what they can educate themselves to transition and get out of it.
So why are you saying that it's good to be in something that you need to get out of? For example, when I went in software, I don't need to get out of. I'm still building software companies right now, even though I should be in entertainment, because it's so easy to obliterate you verbally. I shouldn't be building software companies.
Doing podcasts.
Right, I just show up with no preparation.
Why not? Look, I'll answer your question. Because of these situations, these podcasts, you men and society, that you guys are shaming women for doing that.
Oh, it's not shameful at all.
And it's shameful. You're shaming women.
I am shaming, and let me be clear.
And it is
I used to sell drugs, and when I sold drugs, I never lied to myself. Listen, stop talking for a second. No, it is shameful.
The drug dealer wants to shame women who are choosing
I damn sure do. And I want you to know the difference. When I was selling drugs, I knew that it was wrong. And if anyone asked me, I would say, this is wrong. And why did you do this, Marquett?
So
hold on, don't interrupt me.
It was
listen. Stop talking for a moment, love. Just stop talking for a moment, love. You do need to.
Let him finish his point.
To stop talking. One, when I was doing wrong, I knew it was wrong. That's number one. Number two, I was born into extremes of poverty. It was at some level necessity. But were there other options? Absolutely. Here's the difference. You have middle-class girls flooding into OnlyFans. You have girls who have education flooding into OnlyFans, only to figure out that they cannot make a living there. So what we're speaking of is preventing them from being deluded into thinking they can make a career out of something that is merely making them an embarrassment to themselves and to their family.
It is the same thing. If women got into stripping,
is it shameful?
They will figure it out, and they will see that there's resources that they can make a successful living at it.
Is it shameful?
If they don't. If you feel like
I'm
it's
asking
shameful.
You, is it shameful?
No. I think if you are
stripping,
in this...
Is prostitution shameful?
Prostitution is a whole other thing.
No, that's what you're doing is prostitution.
No, prostitution.
The lies.
Actually,
that's the sad thing.
Prostitution. You're saying OnlyFans is prostitution.
Yes. Do you know the definition of prostitution?
Because you're accepting money for
I'll pull up the definition
service.
For you.
You can
yes,
go
that's
ahead.
Right. It's prostitution.
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you. So you just conceded that it is prostitution.
Guess what? We're living in an age where women are living in a society where they can do this, and they don't have to be at risk of getting diseases, STIs,
that's
whatever.
Not the conversation. The conversation is it shameful?
We want to talk about.
Is it shameful?
It's not shameful if you feel like it's shameful.
Morally questionable. I don't know about
you better be about it.
Everyone has a
because it is for the
a different value set.
He's speaking in generality. Yeah. Is it shameful for women to be involved in that?
Would God condone it?
Morally questionable.
You guys said no?
No.
You live on planet Earth?
I don't think it's shameful.
Industry, just like selling drugs, you shouldn't do it.
I think that what we have to acknowledge is that the women who can pretty much only do that are going to do it, and it's fine. I just don't want everyday decent women to be flooding into this chasing after money because they're not going to get what they're seeking.
I think he's saying setting up the average woman up for success. I think what he's saying is I think a lot of the women in this industry give a false or delusional experience to the average woman that might be curious about getting into it instead of giving the good, the bad, and the ugly, as he said earlier. Like straight up from the get.
I'm very successful.
This is pretty simple, right? You have kids, right?
Yes.
Daughter or son?
Daughter.
Would you want her to do sex work?
Absolutely not.
So it is.
No. Look.
So it is shameful.
Kick me out. Kick me out.
No, and what I am doing. I do this so that my daughter doesn't have to do this.
Understandable. But let's just say, generally speaking, most women, they shouldn't do this, right?
Correct.
So he is correct.
Genuinely.
So
society
listen, it is work, but he's just saying there's alternate things you can do that do create money for yourself and your family as well.
Yeah, I don't think the women understand his argument. His argument was simply that it is an easier job than others, and on top of that, it is shameful from a societal perspective.
Correct. Yeah. Societal, yes.
Yeah. So, and guess what? We live in a society. This is why you asked the question earlier. 2.5 million if you can make it doing OnlyFans, etc. Here's the thing: am I willing to forego future happiness for temporary pleasure now? And I don't think women understand that if you go ahead and you make that money and you become successful, so as you make 2.5 million doing that, you're gonna have to get some level of renown, which means fame, which means people know who the fuck you are, which means no one will take you seriously that's a guy that actually has a name to him. He's not gonna. And if I'm willing to forego a family, a relationship, having people respect me as a dutiful woman, if I'm willing to forego that, cool, I'll go make that money. But what women need to understand is if you make that choice, you go down that road and you go into sexual work, especially become famous, there's significant consequences that will fuck you up. And here's the thing. You guys don't derive the same level of pleasure from success and financial success like we do and status.
I like money.
Okay. Again, the things that keep a woman happy long term are not the same things that keep a man happy long term. We're happy from achieving status, acquiring currency, being able to provide for a woman. You guys don't get the same satisfaction from becoming successful as us. You guys want a family, children. Women are more people-oriented. Men are more thing-oriented. So, yeah, it's great. I'm making money now. I'm 21. Life is awesome. But when you're 31, it's not going to be the same.
And you're going to be broke.
I'm 31.
That's why, I mean, I feel like that's why.
Yeah, back to OnlyFans paying. Like, they were trying to do non-sexual content. They actually offered me a big, they offered me a big chunk of money up front, though, without the thing, to go on there and do jiu-jitsu.
And you know why
and
they did that? Because credit card
no.
companies were trying to, like, Christian people came in.
I have no idea why, but they offered me a big chunk of money, and I turned it down.
And they tried to lobby credit card companies for them to shut it down. But that's going to ruin everything.
But even though I wasn't doing sexual content, I didn't want my name associated
OnlyFans started out as non-sexual content. It was just for exclusive content, and somehow it turned into, during COVID, porn fucking valley. I mean, that's
it's
just
our responsibility.
You like that?
It's our responsibility as leaders
Northridge, Reseda, Tarzana.
We have to shame you because we are the ones who run the society.
I think that it can be.
In shaming you, I save your daughter.
Hold on.
In shaming you, I save your daughter.
Okay, let's not talk about people's kids. Come on, let's leave kids out of this. Like,
you don't say nothing about my daughter.
No, it's a metaphor.
No, it's not.
This is not your show.
Don't fucking speak about my daughter. You're not doing shit for my daughter.
Let's just not talk about kids.
Yeah.
Why are you so angry?
You don't speak for my fucking daughter.
Why are you so angry?
You don't speak for my child. You don't speak for my choices.
Angry? You seem very, very angry.
Because when you're talking about someone's child, you need to leave that out of it.
No one talked about your child.
You did. You just spoke about my child.
See, this kind of anger, you lack what's called EQ.
Is that what you want?
It's emotional intelligence, and because you lack EQ and don't get along well with others, that's why you have to be in a job where you're a solo. You're a sole proprietor. You have to be a sole proprietor because you can't follow directions. You can't get along well with others. It's this bad attitude. And you know I'm not talking about your daughter. When I said, in shaming you, I save your daughter, which is to say all of the young girls, when they hear that, they see the stigma, oh, the society thinks this is bad, they're less likely to go into that. And you yourself earlier said, hold on, don't interrupt.
Mind person.
You yourself earlier said you do not want your daughter to go into that. Here's the thing. If your daughter listens to you, she's likely to go into it because you're promoting it. If she listens to me, she's not likely to go into it. Did you notice that part? part?
But wait, can I say
Did you notice that?
Do
you know why women get into sex work? It's because
let's hear that. I want to hear that answer.
Bad trauma.
I want to hear that answer.
You should want your daughter to listen to
I've been
him.
traumatized. I've been through a lot.
Most girls that get sex work do exactly. Don't talk about that.
Yeah, I want to talk about it.
You're trying to police people's
none of y'all want to
way that they live their life. You don't speak for my child. You don't speak for me.
Yeah.
And go ahead and shame sex workers.
If your daughter was
you know
watching,
what? We deal with you type of people every fucking day.
I don't pay.
We're not talking about that.
You're dumb because that's not what she's saying. Actually,
we're not talking about that. I'm talking about that you're the sidebar people that are trying to come in, chime in on what we're doing.
Broke. That's correct. I want you broke.
We're over here living our life. We're providing a service
Would you mind answering
for
one
people
question?
Who's watching it?
Actually,
who's watching
our services?
Would you mind answering one question?
Who's watching it?
Depends on the question.
If your daughter was watching this podcast and she's listening to what I'm saying about OF, OnlyFans, pornography, prostitution, and she's listening to what you're saying about it, would she be more likely to do OnlyFans listening to you or listening to me? Who would lead her down an OnlyFans path between the two of us?
I am her mother. I am somebody who has the wisdom in this industry.
But did you hear my question?
I would teach her. Let me answer.
Just answer the question.
I would teach her not to follow someone like you.
Oh, shit.
Wait, not about following me.
And not that she would follow something like me.
We're not talking about following me. We're talking about following in your footsteps of doing OnlyFans. You're basically saying, I do it,
I want my daughter to follow
You said you don't. So I said if she was watching the podcast and you're promoting it, and I'm saying it's bad, if she was watching the podcast, is she more likely to do OnlyFans listening to you?
My daughter will not watch this podcast.
Oh, gosh.
Can I ask a question real quick?
It's an example.
He's talking about the advice. He's talking about the advice in itself.
Let's close this page.
Marquett, she answered it.
Yes.
You had a question, right?
It's hopeless.
Well, I was just going to make a point. It's kind of off the topic at this point, but I was just trying to say that I think that it also could be incredibly shameful to go through your life doing what you think is necessary to get yourself the amount of money that you would get from the education that you have, to lead in a job that makes you have a certain status, and the entire time you are just so unhappy.
How about those people have backdoor lives? All those people who are successful, they have backdoor lives, and we meet those guys. We meet their real personality.
Can I ask a question real quick?
They're the guys that are really like, having great jobs and having all this shit that you're talking about. We get to meet the real version of them. They don't hold back. They don't put their colored glasses on.
I'm gonna beat them up.
How many girls have gone through trauma?
You said get a man. What if that man is abusive? What if that man is controlling? What if that man is a narcissist?
That's why you need to follow this ism, because your problem is selection. You have a selection issue. And
it's a broken picker. It's a trauma response.
Stop.
You don't know anything about trauma?
I do. Do you mind if I continue
Do you know
speaking?
why women take bad relationships? Because that's the way our trauma repeats.
Right.
If we had bad parenting, then if you had a bad father, then you will keep repeating
But he's
the
being
same
a good father by
pattern.
saying this.
I'm not talking about her.
I see why you're married.
Thank you.
I see.
Can't there be a better way to try to fix this?
I see.
If you've all gone through trauma, don't you want the
He's
kids and
not
whatnot
attacking
doing
your
it?
daughter. He's trying to protect her. You're just moving emotionally.
We don't want the daughter to have trauma. That's why we're healing our trauma by doing this sex work, because that's
that adds on trauma.
It's
that adds on trauma.
Nigga, what are you saying?
She said she on her knees healing her trauma. That was crazy.
Perhaps we should approach it more emotionally.
What's happening? They're rebelling against their father right now. You're rebelling against your good father.
My father sucked.
I know, but your good father here, you're rebelling. And the thing is, I know you're smart, and I know that you can actually handle the truth. Somehow you attached onto her energy. I think you're more receptive to the message. You're completely off the rockers.
I've done ayahuasca. I've been through everything.
Have you noticed that consistently girls around the table say they've been physically abused?
She talked about that.
I said I was physically abused. I had domestic
But you're
violence.
not the only one at the table. And so what I'm pointing out...
Am I saying that? Am I saying I'm
just
the
let
only
him finish
one
his
at the
point.
table?
Can I say something?
I want to say
something too. I think I'm the only other person with a daughter out of those girls, right? Or I have a child.
Anyone else have a kid?
Yeah, anyone else have a kid? Any women?
Oh, well, the girls.
I mean, the girls.
Not
sorry.
girls.
I'm trying to. I want to give perspective for mothers, and I have a daughter as well, close in age with yours. I think the big picture is that promoting good decisions, self-love, and mental health, I think that aligns with you saying, hey, let's be real with ourselves and let's be honest and let's see things. I am not against sex work by any means. I have dabbled in it myself, but
What'd you do?
I was a dancer. But that's something I actually don't say. I'm kind of going out on a limb because of my daughter.
You were inspired.
Same.
Yeah.
Because of my daughter. Yeah, I actually was. I want to protect
That's
my
why
daughter.
I affirmed you being real.
I have a lot of things about parenting that I think people that post their kids on the internet are nuts.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
I think that's sick. I think you're really selfish trying to show off your kid, and I don't agree with that. There's things about parenting that I don't agree with, but I think the most important thing to instill in children is being real with yourself. Be real with your parents. You don't have to shame anyone to do that. I mean, in the way that, hey, I hate myself because I do this. No, that's not the message.
Right.
The message is I love myself enough to say, hey, this is a means to an end, and I made this decision, and I live in it, and I live in my true self and my whatever empowerment that I attach to this for the moment. And then when you grow past that, make sure that message is clear too as to why you chose to grow past that, because that's going to change the future generation, and that's going to put good thoughts into these kids to see, hey, the easiest way out, whatever you think that may be, I'm just being very general in that sense, that's not going to breed you to be the best person that you can be or the happiest.
Tabernacle.
We all want better for our
Absolutely.
generation
I remember,
after, you know?
Yeah, I remember my dad told me, I told you guys he's old. He's 84. He has a brother that's not less than a year younger, 15 months. Okay. My dad's Giovanni, his brother's Michael. So I asked my dad, I said, Dad, why have you always take the straight and narrow with business? You know, we're Sicilian. You can get indoors. I said, why did you choose that? And my Uncle Mike is a drug addict. So they were very close in age, raised with the same parents, you know, obviously is same experience. And my dad took one route, my Uncle Mike took another. And my dad was like, because look where we ended up. I always knew that was the good decision. And I'm not saying doing something illegal and feeding into people's habits is necessary. Like drug dealing and sex work is not exactly equivalent, right?
Not at all.
Not at all.
That's not
I respect
equivalent.
the drug dealer much more.
I don't know about that, but
much more.
It actually heals men.
I think we're done.
Terrible.
I think we've touched them all.
yeah,
We touched all the bases there.
Okay.